Now we're going to work through the guest cottage project, and I've given you the prototype file in Blackboard for you to download. And we're going to work through the steps in the book. I'll be pausing the video periodically because there's no reason for you to watch me do every single little thing, okay? Especially when they're repetitive in nature. So start out with let's do a save as, and go to where you're saving your stuff at, and we're going to call it your last name, and you can take out the prototype in the file name. So we'll just misspell my name. There we go. So last name and then Cottage. All right, and let's see, let's go to the model tab, and you can notice this template is different from the last one we used over on the GeoQuick. The title block is a lot different because architectural work is different from mechanical work. You know, it's just that simple. So we need to change our units. From decimal, we want to go to architectural. 1/16 inch is correct. We can leave that at 0, that's fine. The rest of the stuff is fine. So we'll go OK. Oh, sorry. That has to be set to inches, okay. Or we get an ugly warning message, so we'll say OK. And now we want to change our text style. To the stylus BT, and we'll apply that. And just for your information, when we set up a text style, we do not set a text height in here. We leave it at just blank, all right? Because when you actually do the text command, then you set the height of your text. But for now, we just leave it as no height. So we'll do that, close that. Object snaps, let's look at that. The book tells you here, endpoint, midpoint, quadrant, intersection, perpendicular. I recommend you turn on center also, just because I know what's coming a couple of pages over, and that'll save us a step then. All right. So when you're in architectural, you're dealing with feet and inches, and you have to put the foot mark in when you're entering in line lengths. You don't have to put the inch marks, and the difference between the two, the foot mark. If you look at your keyboard, right next to your enter button, you've got the one button that's got a single quote mark and then a double quote mark. Feet is a single quote mark, or what we would call an apostrophe. Inches is the double quote mark above it. So you would, it's a quote mark. It's kind of hard to explain. It's not two singles next to each other. Okay, they're different key commands. So when you're entering stuff in, you have to put the foot mark. And there's a little box there on the bottom of page 228 that explains this to you. Especially if you have a fraction of an inch, you have to put a dash in there. All right, so now you're going to create some layers, and I'm going to pause the video now because there's no reason for you to watch me create layers. But go ahead and create these layers and use these colors and line types for creating all of them. Okay, so I got all my layers created. Make sure you've got your colors correct and your line types correct. Okay, and if you're good with it, oh, and make sure that they're all set to plot, because if you just happen to start out depending on where you started at, and it went to the defaults. Just make sure it's all set to plot as we show here. Okay, and so we can close that out. And so let's switch to our walls layer. And I'm going to draw a rectangle. And we'll start at an absolute coordinate of 10 feet, 12 feet. Enter. And then the second point will be 18 feet. Comma 15 feet. All right. Now we're going to use our offset command. And we've been doing a lot of offset in this project. So you want to make sure that you're offsetting in the correct direction. So we're going to set our distance to 4 inches. Pick that and then come to the inside. Now, real quick I'll show you how dimensioning works. So let's switch up to our 0 layer. If we go to our dimension command here, this is a linear dimension, and it's a horizontal or vertical measurement between 2 points. And so it may help you to periodically check this to make sure you're getting things the correct size. And we're not going to worry about dim style settings or anything like that. You can just zoom in on it. Well, maybe we do need to. So that's 216 feet. Let's, okay, so we'll make the change. So let's go over here to annotate. And we want to edit our standard dimension style, because we'll deal with dimension styles later in this project in a few weeks. Let's go ahead and make a change here to modify the standard and change our units to architectural. Precision 1/16 inch is fine. Let's go to our text. And for right now, let's make our text height, let's make it 4 inches for right now. Okay, and then we can close all of that. All right, and so this will help you to be able to make sure that you are drawing things the correct size. Now, when you turn this in, you're not going to have any dimensions on it. Okay. I just want to show you that so you can double check yourself to make sure that you're drawing this stuff the right size. Okay, so now let's go back to our wall layer. And we're going to explode both of these. So I'll select both of them and go explode. And then we're going to offset the interior walls. Now you want to make sure you're picking the correct walls to offset, and you're offsetting it in the correct distance. So let's go offset. Oh, I hit explode, sorry. Offset. I'm going to go 7'4". And pick the outside wall and go to the inside. Okay, now let's do the 5'4". So I'll hit my space bar and go 5'4". And then once again, make sure I pick the outside wall and come in. Now let's do it again and set it at 4 inches. And from this one, whoa, that picked up feet. Offset. Pick that one and go down. Pick this one and go to the right. Okay, now we're going to do some trimming. And if you notice at all of the wall intersections, they've been trimmed out. So we'll trim there, And that's good down there. Okay. Now we're going to put in some, well, let's see, I'm going to save my file here because you never know what's going to happen. Now we're going to put in some door openings, so we'll be doing offset again. And we want to go 2'8". And we'll offset again 1'6" both ways. And then do some trimming. And we'll leave the line across the bottom there. Okay. And you know, you could do offsets. You remember when we did the snap from, you could do snap from. So I think I'll do that up here. So I'm just going to do line. Turn my ortho mode. Snap from. Choose here. And I'm going to come over 4 inches. And then draw that line up until I get a perpendicular snap. Okay, so I've done that. Now I could offset that 2 feet over. Trim that. And then over here, well, we do it. You're doing offsets. You could do the offsets, or you could do the snap from, just like I just did just then. So we'll go line, snap from, and that's from the inside corner. So I'm going to pick there and come over 2 feet 4 inches. And draw my line down until I get a perpendicular snap. And now I'll do an offset of 2 feet. Go to the right and trim. Whoa, what happened there? Oh, that was weird. Oh, I don't know, sometimes trim gets a little crazy. Okay, so that's got my door openings in place. I'll save my file, and now let's go look at windows. We're going to actually be drawing the rectangles for the windows and then placing them where we've offset some of these lines at, okay? And, you know, honestly, offsetting is probably the fastest way to put those lines in. So let's go ahead and switch over to our Windows layer, and we'll go offset. What is that first? 2'6". And then we'll go 4'2" for 2 times. So space bar, 4'2". And then we got a 5'6". And it's 6'6". Now, because we just put those in and they're so close together, I'm going to trim those out so I'm not confused. Okay, and so that's got all my offset lines. Now, you notice, even though I changed layers, okay, when I offset or copy something, it stays on its original layer. So if you needed to change those, you would change them out. Now, we're on our Windows layer, and we're going to create our windows. So we're going to draw two rectangles, and then put a horizontal line in the middle, and then we'll copy and move them around. So we'll go rectangle, doesn't matter where you start. I'll start somewhere and drag over. And I want this one, I want it to be 36 inches by 4 inches. And then I want to do another one that is 24 inches by 4 inches. Whoa. Oh. I don't know what happened there. 24 inches by 4 inches. There we go. And then we want to draw a line right down the middle of those. So we get my midpoint object snap. Draw it across. Do that again. And over to here. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these into my space up there. And so really there's just two entities that have to be copied. You've got a rectangle and then a line. So if I just do a crossing window and select it and go copy, and it's asking for a base point. So I want to come to the outside wall here and get the midpoint snap and bring it up, put it right there, and put it right there. And I need one more right here. Okay. And so now that I can take this one and do the same thing, I'm going to copy it, but I'll choose the top edge because I'm going to this rear wall back here. Right there. Okay. And now the one that comes over here, I've got to rotate it. So it doesn't matter. So I'm going to select that one, give my rotate command, pick a base point, doesn't matter. And I'm going to tell it 90 degrees. And since this is the last one, so I'm just going to move it. So I'll use my move command. Pick that outside midpoint and drop it right there on the snap. Okay, rotate, so that's got all of those. Now we need to delete these lines. And there's that one in there that didn't get trimmed out, so we'll delete that. Check everything else. Make sure we don't have any extra lines in there. Okay, so that's got our windows. Next, we're going to draw our doors, and we're going to use a rectangle and an arc to draw these. And the front one is 1 inch thick by 3 foot long. So let's come down here, change over to our door layer, go rectangle, start at the corner of the wall, and to the right will be 1 inch, to the up will be 36 inches. Whoa, it took feet. There. Okay, and then we'll draw an arc. Read the note on the bottom of the previous page about door sizing and how they are written on drawings. Okay, so now let's use that blue is kind of hard to see. I know it'll be hard to see on the video for you. So we'll use what are we going to use? Start center end. Okay. So we'll start here will end, oh, center point will be the hinge side of the door, and the end point will be the outside edge of the door. What happened to that? Oh, either my door or my window, my opening is the wrong size. So let me check that. That is 3 feet. Why did my door end up the wrong size? That's weird. All right, I'll go back and try that again. So I want 1 inch wide. And I'm going to go 3 feet. Okay, that looks better. I don't know what happened to that. That was weird. Okay, so that looks better. All right, so that's got that door. Now we'll repeat the process for the other 2 doors. I'll pause the video. There's no reason for me to show you those.